These are Sermons from the Mount Gambier Catholic Parish, that is. This is the Sunday Gospel and our short reflection on it. I pray the Word of God bring each of us closer to Jesus, the Word made flesh. The apostles said to the Lord, "Increase our faith." The Lord replied, "Were your faith the size of a mustard seed, you could say to this mulberry tree, 'Be uprooted and planted in the sea,' and it would obey you. Which of you, with a servant ploughing or minding sheep, would say to him when he returned from the fields, 'Come and have your meal immediately'? Would he not be more likely to say, 'Get my supper laid, make yourself tidy, and wait on me while I eat and drink? You can eat and drink yourself afterwards'? Must he be grateful to the servant for doing what he was told? So with you, when you have done all that you have been told to do, say, 'We are merely servants. We have done no more than our duty.'" The Gospel of the Lord. Imagine for a moment that I didn't just read the Gospel to you. And I said to you, right, this morning's Gospel is a story that Jesus tells about a servant who's been ploughing in the fields, who's been minding the flock, and at the end of the day, at dinner time, comes back home to his master. How would you imagine that this story would end? Oh, that sounds a lot like a parable we heard a few weeks ago. Remember that moment when the master went out to a wedding banquet and told the servants to stay awake, and then when he came home at a late night, it was the master who laid out the banquet for his servants. That's what's going to happen again, isn't it? This servant comes in from the fields, and the master's going to say, "Gee, you've had a hard day. Kick up your feet. Let me take care of dinner." You'd expect that, wouldn't you? But actually the opposite happens. The master kind of looks over his newspaper and says, "Ah, you're back. Good. Gee, you look sweaty. Get yourself a shower, lay the table, cook the meal, and then serve me. And you can eat after." It's a bit surprising, isn't it? And yet, what Jesus is pointing towards here is the right attitude that we need to have before God, our Father. Because if we come as his servants at the end of a hard day and step into the house, imagining that the master is going to say, "Oh, thank goodness for you, gee, aren't you wonderful?" Well then, when it comes time to cook the meal, what are we going to do? We're going to get resentful. "How dare you? Don't you know that I've been sweating all day?" We'll get resentful. We'll start to complain. And then we'll quit. "Forget it, pal. Get your own meal." No, instead, Jesus reminds us that in actual fact, if we come before God expecting his gratitude for us, we're on the wrong footing. We've missed the point. No. We are the servants. Now, bear this in mind. Jesus never gives us advice without first fulfilling it himself. When does he do this? Well, when he goes to the Garden of Gethsemane and enters into his agony, he prays, "Father, let this cup pass me by, but not my will, your will be done." He places himself in the position of the servant. "Lord, your will be done." And it's precisely this that allows him to enter into his passion, pick up his cross and get up every time he fell. The danger of not having this attitude of the servant would be that Jesus would simply throw the cross away. I didn't do the sinning, those guys did the sinning. Stick them up on the cross. Surely you're satisfied by now. Haven't I done enough? Aren't you grateful? And all of those complaints with the inevitable consequence, forget it, pal. Not my job. No, instead Jesus gives this instruction. When you've finished everything that you need to do, simply say, we're just humble servants. We've just done our duty. That's all. It's precisely this that puts us in right relationship with God. And what is it that enables us to continue to do our duty, to continue to do what God asks of us, even when it's hard, even when we've hit that limit, even when we've come to that moment of, you know what, I've worked all day, I'm tired, and now I've got to do something more? Well, it's faith. And faith, not simply in the sense of, well, you know, I know the right things about God and I can recite the creed and say, yep, all of that's true. No, it's a deeper kind of faith which says, but you know what, Lord, actually, I trust you. Lord, you know what you're doing. You know where you're guiding me. And when I pick up this cross, I know it leads me to the resurrection. That what you will for me is the fullness of life. And what's interesting is that implicit in this dynamic is the faith that God places in us. That when he asks us to do something difficult, when we pick up a cross which is heavy, there's an implicit act of faith that God makes in us and says, you can do it. I know you can. I know you've got it in you. Now, the one bit that's not present in this story this morning is the part where we realise that the servant could ask his master for help. And that's the important dynamic of our spiritual life. There are times when we really struggle under the weight of the cross, when we really feel that we can't go forward anymore, when we're at our wits' end, when we've expended the last drop of our energy. Those are the moments when we come before our Master and say, Lord, this is hard. I'm struggling. Can you help? But it's precisely that prayer which is made in faith, in trust, knowing who God the Father is and desiring to walk in his ways. I think this helps us to make sense of what we heard in the first reading this morning from the prophet Habakkuk. The people are in a bit of a complaining mood. Have a listen. How long, Lord, am I to cry for help while you will not listen? To cry oppression in your ear and you will not save. Lord, things aren't working out the way that I expected. And it's hard. Well, the word of the Lord that gets addressed to the prophet is this. Write the vision down, inscribe it on tablets to be easily read, since the vision is for its time only. Eager for its own fulfillment, it does not deceive. If it comes slowly, wait. for come it will without fail. There's that expression of faith. There is that expression of trust. If it comes slowly, wait. For come it will without fail. The next two lines from the prophet Habakkuk describe then these two attitudes that we can have before God. He says, the upright man will live by his faithfulness. When we're in right relationship with God, when we're in that aspect of loving trust, knowing that the Father is leading us towards life, well then, we have perseverance. We've got the stickability. We'll have courage. But see how he flags, he whose soul is not at rights. See how that one gets tired? See how that one gets fed up? See how that one quits, whose soul isn't aright with God? The one who comes before God and says, surely, Lord, by now you owe me something. Surely, Lord, by now you should be a little more grateful for everything I've done for you. When we come before the Lord with that kind of attitude, we lose our perseverance. We lose our stickability. And you know what? We start to lose our faith. Remember how this gospel started. The apostles come to Jesus and they say, Lord, increase our faith. Now, it seems to me that our faith increases when it's exercised. A little bit like a muscle. When you lift the weight, you gain the strength. When you have to trust God because it feels like it's getting harder. When you have to lean into his plan. When you have to exert the effort to perform his will. Those are the times when our trust increases. These aren't the signs that our faith is failing, it's the sign that our faith is growing. And it's precisely in the exercise of this loving trust that we discover that in fact God is the one who is entirely trustworthy. And even when it seems to delay, we can wait, confident that God is the one who keeps his promises. The example to us of this trusting perseverance is Jesus bearing his cross. And so it's no wonder that he makes that exact same invitation to us. Pick up your cross and follow me.
Thanks for joining us for this Sunday's Gospel. May God bless you for the week ahead.